Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of No Way Jose, starring the Boston Mass, Jose Raymond, brought to you by Jose Raymond. Yeah. Jose Raymond, the bostonmass.com website. Is that up and running again?
Yeah, no, it needs still being worked on.
Okay. Go to his Instagram for all inquiries. It's the Boston Mass, THEE, two E's, the Boston Mass. Of course, he's got a great YouTube channel right here on YouTube called the Boston Mass. But yeah, today we don't have a happy subject or even a controversial subject. This is another one. We've lost another great, and it's getting to be such a regular thing now. It's terrible. We lost Cedric McMillan at only 44 years old, and that's a lot younger than me. That's younger than you. That's way too young for anybody to go. And Cedric really was one of the good guys, one of the really good guys in the sport. I didn't know him as well as you did. You competed with him. You know, you were at so many expos all over the world with him, contests. When did you first meet Cedric?
Oh, I don't even know, to be honest with you. Probably with Chris, because Chris helped him in quite a few shows, and you know, Chris would have me come into the room and look at him, and he came to my room once at the Olympia to pose, which was pretty cool. I can't tell you the exact day, but it was one of those things I was talking about at the. Great to meet you. Honest to God, Cedric was a guy that when you met him, you knew you were in the presence of something great. You know, there was just a special something. And it wasn't his stature. It wasn't that he was gigantic, which he was. Yeah. I mean, he's probably 6'2" and every bit of, never seen him under 280, you know, just a giant, well put together guy in every sense of the word. But I knew this was a genuine soul in a superstar, an absolute superstar. In any room he went in, he was the superstar of the room. Even if he placed 10th in the Olympia, he was still a superstar amongst superstars, you know. That's what I can say about him was he always made you feel good, always made you feel like just a regular guy. You know, he's a lot like Kai Green in the sense that, you know, Kai would always compliment me like, oh man, I'm so envious of the things you're doing. You're judging shows and you're, you know, doing podcasts. You're keeping busy. You know, not to mention he's one of the best bodybuilders ever. You know, but he's telling me how much he envies me or respects me. You know, and Cedric was the same way. You know, he'd always have nothing but great to say and make you feel like you're actually the superstar when you're just in awe of him. Like, oh my God, watching him pose, you know, and I say it, in the last 7 months, we lost two of the best bodybuilders of all time. I'm talking top 10 best physiques of all time. It's crazy.
Talking about Sean Roden as well. So you mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Sean and Cedric. Cedric never won an Olympia, but for my money, and most people out there that know anything about bodybuilding, Cedric had it all. He was big. He was symmetrical, perfectly put together. He wasn't missing anything, and he, you know, forget about the man he was. Just the physique alone was unbelievable. But then you just add everything else, and it's just so horrible. I actually reached out to Chris when I heard it, and he hadn't heard it yet, and he called me instantly, and he was just
froze there for a second.
What do you say? What is going on? Like I don't know what to say. I've been watching all the podcasts and the things that people are saying and changes we can make and this and that. And I really don't think that that's it. I don't think that there's much changes you can make.
No.
I think it's a culmination, and we talked about this before, of age. I think that's one of the biggest factors. And these last two guys were in their mid 40s, and still intending to continue to compete.
Yeah.
I think once you hit 40, the likelihood of bad health issues is exponentially worse. And that wasn't the case in the 70s, the 80s. Dorian retired at 35. Lee Haney was done by 30, 31, something. Even Arnold retired at 28.
Yep.
And came back and won another one or two. But most back in the day, people were done, and now you're getting your pro card at 40, 41, 44, 45, sometimes 50, 60,
60.
Yeah, and I think nothing good happens when you combine extremes with age.
Yeah.
And not to mention how long you've been at it prior to getting that pro card. And then you got to step it up to try to compete at the pro level. I think that is a factor, which cannot be changed unless an age limit is put in place. And that's not going to happen.
No, you can't do that.
No. I don't think it's anyone's fault. It's not the NPC, the IFBB. It really isn't. I don't know what to say. I don't know what changes that can be implemented. I've been hearing all these ideas, and sure, they come from a good place, a good heart, but I don't know that that's the answer. I think, and this is just me, and I'm doing my analysis of what's been going on. I do now 100% believe it has something to do with COVID, whether it's the shot or whether it's the C, or whether you got it or you got the vaccine. I think something combined with being gigantic and using PEDs, and I think there is a correlation. I just do. The number of deaths is too high for it not to be thought of. It's too much to be a coincidence.
Yeah, and Cedric had COVID. I think early 2021, he had a really severe case of COVID, and as a U.S. Army soldier, he was also forced to get the vaccine. He was in the hospital last fall with 10% heart function and pneumonia. So, back then, I think even Nick T made a video saying, predicting all kinds of horrible things, and unfortunately, it came true. But I wasn't surprised. I'm very saddened by this, but I'm not surprised because we're seeing. It's like every other week now. Every week or every other week, we're losing somebody. But let me back up and say some things about his career, because no, he didn't win an Olympia, but this guy, in a short time, considering he didn't do a ton of shows, he didn't do like 40, 50 shows. He turned pro at the 2009 Nationals. I remember Lee Haney was there, and he was mesmerized by this guy's physique. He said, "This is the future. This is the future Mr. Olympia. Such beautiful proportions, small waist, 6'2". The ideal physique." He went on to win 8 pro shows: 2011 Orlando Pro, 2012 New York Pro. I think did you win the 212 that time too, when he won?
What year?
2012. 2012, yeah, New York Pro.
No, I was third behind Kevin English won and Samuel Haddad was second.
Okay, so then he won FIBO Germany 2013, Golden State Pro 2015, Levroni Classic in Poland 2016, the Arnold Classic in 2017, 2019 Hungary Pro, 2019 Romania Pro. The last time we saw him on stage, I believe, was 2020 at the Arnold Classic. We got 6th, and that's the show. That's the one I think he had the blindfold. He came out and did an entire posing routine with a blindfold on. You remember that?
Yeah.
He was one of a kind. He didn't care if someone said, "No, you shouldn't do that. That's not how you're supposed to." He came in, he brought the look he wanted to bring. They said, "No, you need shredded glutes." And he refused to play other people's games. He had his own integrity, his own way of his own vision of what he wanted the physique to look like. Because he was an artist as a kid. He drew superheroes and things like that. And man, we got to talk about the sense of humor. After the Arnold Classic, every Sunday morning they interview the champions, and a lot of times it's not the most exciting thing in the world. You sit there, especially if you're a little hungover like I usually am. I kind of doze off, but I was there for Cedric's interview at that. It was hilarious. He had people like literally like couldn't breathe. They were laughing so hard. He told a story about, I think he was like 10 years old. He went to the library and he stole the Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding just because he wanted it and he couldn't afford it. And, he says, I apologize to the library and this and that. This is like 30 years later, he's talking about it, but he could make anybody laugh. He had such a sense of humor. Man, do you remember some of the funny stuff he said or did around you?
Oh, dude, on stage, he was dry humping Arnold. Who on earth could get away with dry humping Arnold?
That's right.
I mean, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And the way, the confidence of the guy that he could joke around with Arnold and get a reaction like he did, had Arnold posing with him on stage. Right. He said, I want to see you do it. And Arnold did it in his suit. Yeah. And then, fast forward to this past, I want to say last October, when they were in the booth together, and what a rapport they had back and forth. You could tell that Arnold loved Cedric, that he really, that's his favorite physique probably ever. Yeah. He always referred to Cedric as, because obviously they're the same height, similar proportions, posing styles. So that would be his favorite. Yeah. Knowing Arnold. But the way he carried himself and the confidence, most of us would be like, starstruck, or just you'd be too afraid to say the wrong thing around him. Yeah. Where he didn't care. It was so awesome. That was the funniest thing. I don't know that I'd be dry humping him, but that was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think it was the same show, the same year when Arnold was, Arnold has this habit. If he likes someone's physique a lot, he'll go up to the stage and put his camera like this to take a selfie with whoever's on stage. Yeah. Cedric saw it and came right over to Arnold and put his face right next to him so they could get in the picture together. Yeah. And I think it was a same show too, where he included everybody. He didn't, even when he won, the year he won, I think it was, he had everybody come over, and I don't know if it was his camera, someone's phone. He got everyone in the picture with them. He was so respectful of all the other competitors. And because you actually competed with him. Yeah. One of your open shows you did was 2017 Ferrigno Legacy. Yeah. And you competed. You can actually say I competed with this guy.
I did. I was hoping to get a call out right next to him. I thought I should have. It ended up being Brandon Curry won, Cedric was second, Josh Wade was third, and I was fourth. Yeah. So it was I was right in the first call out with him, both prejudging and finals. There was no need to actually put me next to him because I was next to Josh Wade being compared. But yeah, there was a point during like the pose down where he and I were next to each other. Another time that I was on stage with him that I totally forgot about was in 2012 when all of us guest posed in New Jersey. It was me, Dana Lynn Bailey, Sean Roden, Juan Morel, and Cedric. Wow. And it's sad that two of them are gone now. And two of them are millionaires. And then there's me. Yeah.
Oh man, have you seen the Bailey's house? Never been there. That Montana place?
Ooh. Yeah.
Lord.
Hey, they hustle. That's their main slogan. They hustle. Yeah. And that's why they got everything they got. Yeah. Nothing was given to them, that's for sure.
Yeah, people also need to realize, a lot of people used to come down on Cedric. They're saying, he didn't compete enough. He didn't take bodybuilding seriously enough. But this guy, I saw an interview he did where he talked about a lot of times he was only able to get 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night. He tried to get all the meals in that he could. He did his best, but he was a soldier. He was a drill sergeant. He was out in the field with these guys all the time. He didn't have the luxury of being a full-time bodybuilder like, somebody would ideally want to be if you're going to try to win the Mr. Olympia. And I think considering all that and the fact that he had 4 children, the fact that he ran this whole charity organization in his hometown for like underprivileged kids, I think he spent most of the money that he won at that Arnold on, I think it was like a new heater or a new bus, or it was something for the kids. It wasn't for him or his family. It was for those kids. I mean, who does that? You know,
Cedric.
yeah, I mean, most guys just like, what kind of car can I get now? That would be their first thing. What kind of Porsche, what kind of Bentley can I get with that money now? Man, yeah, he was different. And you know what? Another thing about him is there's a stereotype that bodybuilders are arrogant and they think they're so great. He was the total opposite of that. If anything, I always sensed a bit of insecurity around him. Like he never felt he was big. He was enormous. You stood next to him and this guy was so tall, so wide, so big, shoulders, arms, chest. He was huge, but he would feel small a lot of times. I remember one time at a booth, he had like, it looked like he had 2 hoodies on. I'm like, are you hot? I mean, I said, are you cold or something? Because it's not even, why are you wearing all that? You're like, I don't feel big right now. I feel small. I'm like, you feel small? Good Lord, I'd hate to, like that's small. I don't know what the rest of us are. And
he there's a few stories that really tell you who he is. He is far from selfish. You know, when he won the Arnold Classic, he made sure that the top 5 guys were there with him. That took the photo with him, and he called them all back out on stage. Yeah. He made a point to share that moment with the top 5 guys. I mean, that's a special guy. You know, a lot of people like, it's my time in the sun. This is it. I finally won. I did this. But he immediately was thinking about other guys because he knows how hard they work to be there. And he wanted to just share a piece of that with them. You know, you could go on and on. I know that one year he was at the Arnold and he didn't have enough food. So he ended up befriending one of the people that worked there, that worked in the kitchen. And yeah, and they ended up bringing him everything he needed. And then the following year, the same thing, you know, he could reach out to that person. They would take care of all his food. Anywhere he went, people just loved him, you know, and he got shit done. Yeah. Because of that personality.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think that somebody like that, you know, it's, you know, this is, you know, death. I don't think death has any particular agenda. It just randomly strikes good and bad people. But, you know, he really was one of the most beloved guys. I don't know anybody that didn't like Cedric. It's hard not to. Like you said, he made you feel like if you were talking to him for 2 minutes, you felt like you were his best friend. He made everybody feel like they knew him. And he gave everybody time. Fans, other competitors, media people, you know, he was just a generous guy. And yeah, I mean, I feel awful because 44 years old, good Lord. I know there's young guys watching this that think, well, 44, that's not that young. That's middle age. That's a long life. It's not, guys. Trust me. Once you get to be like 40, 45, you'll realize that's not old at all. Yeah. But as far as what can be done about this, there's nothing that can be done about it, guys. It's, you know, there's too many. It's a perfect storm right now with, like you said, bodybuilders are staying in the sport and staying bigger longer. They're using gear for many more years. Now we have this virus and a vaccine for the virus that both have these heart inflammatory and blood clotting properties. You know, it's a recipe for disaster. And I hope we don't have to do another one of these soon. I hope I don't have to report on it soon, but I know that's just wishful thinking.
You know, when we were talking about Cedric and how he made you feel, and I wasn't best friends with Cedric. I wasn't best friends with John Meadows, but I got the similar feeling around those 2 guys. You know, I never heard them talk shit about anyone. And they always made you feel like you were the focus of it, you know, always genuinely like, you know, how you doing? How you know, really polite and genuine, you know, just, I never heard a bad word come out of either one of them. Yeah. They're very similar in that way, you know, where some people are funny and like to talk shit. They weren't that way around me anyway, you know. I got very similar feeling from both of those guys.
Yeah. And, you know, going back to how you said how he made sure all the other guys in the top 5 got that recognition when he won. I think it was that same year, a couple days later, he made a post where he was almost apologetic for winning because I think he felt bad that someone else didn't get to experience that. You know, he was happy that he won, but he also was kind of bummed that somebody else who had worked just as hard as him didn't get to experience that. That's the kind of guy he was. Who apologizes for winning? Because, like I said, that was his moment. That's the second biggest title in the world. You know, he should have just been reveling and basking in the glory of it, but he's thinking about other competitors who might have got edged out. And yeah, who does that? Cedric did, but
yeah,
very few other people would.
Yeah, easy guy to love, that's for sure.
Yeah, and man,
that's for sure.
I can't remember one time listening to him talk where he didn't make me laugh or make everybody around him laugh. He just had this easy sense of, I think he missed his calling, stand-up comedy or something, acting. I think he would have been a great actor. Yeah.
So it strikes me as that we're talking about it now. So that year he won, he donated a lot of his money, most of his money, to the kids. He doesn't have the trophies. I remember hearing him say that he doesn't know where some of them are. That's not what it's all about. And then he brings the other guys up there. He also gave that leather jacket to Chris.
Wow.
Yeah, Chris has his leather jacket. He sent me a picture of it yesterday. And he's like, dude, I was gonna, specially wrap it and give it back to him for, when he retired. And it's a really sad moment. Chris is having a rough go about it, but like Cedric, material things just didn't matter.
Right.
He gave his coach this jacket to some people, have it encased in glass, where he's like, yeah, you take it. It just says so much. And it also kind of is something we can learn from. Because all this material shit, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. Even I remember the interview he did one with Fuad last year, I think it was. And I think Cedric was talking about, people are disappointed in him because he hasn't fulfilled his potential, didn't accomplish what they thought he should have accomplished. But I think he was talking to his mother or his aunt or something and said, Cedric, maybe that's not why you're here to win Mr. Olympia. Maybe you're here to inspire people, to help these kids with your family. There's a lot of other things that maybe are a lot more important than winning this title that everybody wants to win. And he sort of agreed with that. And we put so much pressure on all the pros, I think, saying if you don't win the Olympia, you ain't shit. You failed. It's sad because there's a lot of other ways to succeed. And some of the best success stories in the sport are pros that were never very good pros, but they did other things. Maybe they became great coaches. Maybe they started this great business that did so well, or maybe they got into charity work and helped a lot of people. There are so many other ways that you can succeed and help people beyond just winning the Sandow Trophy, which only 15 men since 1965 have anyway. I view his career as a huge success because he didn't play anybody else's game. He didn't bow down to the pressure to do things when people said you need to do this. He was his own man, and not many people can really say that these days.
Yeah. He had a unique style of posing. That was very influential because he showed people that he's there to put on a show. He put a lot into his presentation, and a lot of people followed suit. He didn't have to win to be one of the favorites in any show he did.
Yeah. It's before Classic came along, he was already talking about one of his goals was to bring back those ideals, the aesthetics, the shape, symmetry, posing, presentation. He was very much a proponent of all those things years before Classic started. Because I remember people said, stop hitting. I don't know if it was a judge. Somebody had suggested to him, stop hitting all those old school poses, those classic poses. Just do like the most musculars in the side chest. And he's like, nope. I'm gonna do what I want. It's my posing routine. Don't tell me how to pose.
Oh my God. Without those poses, you wouldn't be able to display how beautiful that physique was.
Yeah.
And in my book, easily top 10 physiques of all time.
Yeah,
Easily.
I agree. And, some will say, some people judge that by, how many contests somebody, or which contest they've won, or that's not how you judge physiques. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
way too subjective. Man. Yeah. I don't have a whole lot left to say, but rest in peace. I feel terribly for those 4 kids left without a dad now. To me, that's always the worst thing when somebody passes away and they have children, because now those kids don't have a dad to grow up with. They're going to see pictures and videos, and people come up to them for years and years saying, your dad was this, he was that. And, all they wish is that their dad was still around.
Yeah.
They don't care that he was this on this magazine cover or had this many followers on Instagram. None of that matters. That's just more material crap. So, man, yeah, I guess we'll close it out. But rest in peace. One of the greatest physiques of all time. One of the greatest bodybuilders of our generation. A very unique personality, loved by so many. Leaves a legacy behind. It's just unfortunate that his legacy had to end there, that there wasn't more time for him to continue being the guy that he was.
Right. Ron, with all that said, do you have any ideas that you'd like to share? Any thoughts on moving forward, how to minimize this, or is it not going to be minimized? Is this the new
norm?
The new normal?
This is going to seem kind of hypocritical because, I've used gear for many years. I still use it. So, but if you have a health scare, if something happens where, especially with your heart, it's easy for me to say, well, they should just stop bodybuilding, get off all the gear, downsize. That's what people are saying. Roden, why was he still big? Why was Cedric so? They should have all just immediately downsized. And it's easy for us. It's easy for anybody to say that's what you should do. As soon as you have a health scare with your kidneys or your heart or whatever, that's the end of your bodybuilding. But if that's who you are, that's what you love, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder than that than people can ever imagine. I mean, you're still a big dude, but I mean, you've downsized a little bit from the biggest Jose I knew.
Significantly.
I think you look fantastic now. I'm glad that you're not trying to walk around like 240 all the time anymore. But what do you think about that? Because there are warning signs. A lot of these people that are dying, they did have a warning that it's easy now after the fact to say, well, they didn't heed that warning and they really should have.
Yeah, I think if there's any serious heart warning signs, that's it. That's it. Over. Done. I mean, you have to be. You should be as healthy as possible trying to do this craziness. But as we're seeing, there's no second chances. You once you go too far, you're gone. That's it.
Yeah.
And I don't know that these guys knew it. I'm not saying they did. He certainly spoke of having health issues. I'm not sure why he tried to come back, and each show that he did try to come back for, he ended up pulling out of. So that's enough to tell you, that he wasn't healthy enough to continue.
Yeah. I saw a video where he talked about, there's a certain amount of pressure. If you have an endorsement contract with a supplement company, they expect certain things from you. If they're paying you, they want you to compete. A lot of times you have to do certain shows, a certain number of shows a year. You have to do guest posings, and they want you to have this. They want you to look a certain way. They want you to be big and lean. And it's not healthy, but to stay big and lean all the time, as we know, because it takes chemicals to do that. But he also felt his fans. He wanted to be there. His fans want to see him compete. He felt pressured. I don't want my fans to be disappointed. They want to see me compete, so I better keep competing. There's a lot more pressure on pro bodybuilders than people realize. They think it's all fun and games. It's a lot of pressure. Now, you've had sponsorships.
Of course, but I think people like Cedric have a lot more to offer than his gigantic muscle. his brain and his heart, or you know, his genuine character would have, you know, carried him a long way after he got off the stage.
Yeah.
But we say it over and over and over again: heed the warning signs and get out. Get out. I you know, once I stopped because of the hip, I kept training, and I considered a comeback for a few minutes until I realized, you know, the other hip is going and my shoulders are going too. And, you know, thank God for that injury, you know, because I probably would have kept going. If I didn't have any injuries, I would still be competing today.
Yeah.
Because it's all I've known for 30 years, you know. And if I was still good at it, why wouldn't I do it? Well, it's probably, you know, doing its work on my insides. So I'm glad to be done. I really am. I'm, you know, I'm at the exact weight that I used to compete at, and I look nothing like I did at that weight, you know, 6-7 years ago. But yeah, I mean, I'm still overweight for my height. I'm 210 pounds, but I'm in good shape. You know, I feel good, and I intend to stay that way. I hope so. I'm going to do everything in my power, but when the big guy calls you, there's nothing you can do.
Do you get the ultrasounds, the CAT scans on your heart, the calcium score?
Yeah, I've had everything.
Okay.
You know, there were some things that were slightly off, but I've never had any, you know, knock on wood, nothing serious.
Yeah, because, you know, I would be devastated if it was you. And I mean, I'm sure you'd feel the same way if it was me, but I think we both understand now that it could be either one of us.
Absolutely.
We feel fine, but you know what? Everyone thinks they're not. I don't think anybody except maybe a terminally ill person ever thinks they're going to die, which is, we're all going to die, you know, someday. Could be 30 years from now. It could be 30 minutes from now. You have no idea.
Right.
Yeah, I guess live, you know, take care of yourself as well as you can and try to appreciate every day. I hope those are the two things that have come out of all these deaths, is that people are, I hope, paying a lot more attention to their health and being more cautious, I hope, and trying to appreciate the fact that you're alive. You're alive. You know, look at Cedric's not alive. John Meadows not alive. Sean Rhoden's not alive. Boston Lloyd. We could go on and on and on. These people, you can picture them. We've all spoken to them face to face so many times. It's hard to believe they're gone. But you know what? You can realize if they're gone, that means we could be gone too. We could all go in the blink of an eye.
I think people are listening and people are making decisions. You know, that kid, Ben Chow?
Yes.
He does the podcast with Fuad. He recently just made an announcement. He's a younger kid. I don't know how old he is, maybe early 30s.
Yeah.
He's who
Yeah, you broke up there for a minute, but he had talked about some. Yeah, we lost you for a second, but he had kidney issues a year or two ago.
Yeah,
and he's smart enough to realize, because he's done. He's got good business opportunities, a lot going on.
Yeah, he's got a child, he's got a wife, he's got a family, he's got a business.
Yeah,
and he knows that's it. That is it. You know, and there's nothing he can't do in a slimmer version of himself that he's doing now, other than compete for a pro card.
Right.
Which in the long run is probably taking away from his business opportunities. He doesn't have time. He's spending 4 hours on his body every day.
That's true.
You know, it is true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at Cutler. His business is exploded once he retired and could put more time into it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and a lot of people. I mean, even Guy Sistanino is busier now than he was at the peak of his career. Yeah. So it's something to look forward to. You know, get out, move on, get out while you can.
And I mean, there's so much opportunity now just for coaching, for online coaching, for prep. I mean, because we know people placed 3rd out of 3 at a local show and they're a coach and they're doing well at it. So anybody that's got a great track record as a pro, instantly you'd have plenty of opportunities to make a good living as a coach. That's like the easy backup plan now. Whereas years ago, I'm sure guys would be like, what do I do now? Crap. You know,
so Ron, here's something I was talking about the other day on one of my Instagram lives. and I got in a few arguments because I don't want to say that this is my opinion or not, but something worth talking about. If there's now an age limit for teenagers to compete, they can only be 18 and up.
Yep.
Should there be an age limit for the upper classes? I mean, should you say, listen, I don't want a 60-year-old guy trying to come for a pro card. I know he's gearing up. I know he's gassing up. You know, you see been to Masters Nationals. You see the 60-year-old guys, they're freaks.
I've seen super heavies that are like 60 years old.
Right. And the purpose of making an age limit for the young kids is because you don't want them doing things they shouldn't be doing. Well, do you want 60-year-olds doing things they shouldn't be doing? So it's worth conversation. And I hope I don't get a phone call for bringing this up, but it's definitely worth talking about.
That's the problem is there are masters categories in all the regional shows, and we have masters at Masters Nationals, Universe, North American, Masters USA. I'm probably missing a few. I don't know if the Amateur Olympia is Amateur Arnold. There's Masters Divisions. So you'd immediately be excluding a lot of people. But I mean, 60, that's pretty, I think that's a very reasonable, but I mean, you could really cap it at 50, which means I could never compete again, even if I wanted to.
I don't know how it would be handled, and I'm not even suggesting that it happened, but it's worth the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, for the reasons you said, it does make a lot of sense. Should a 55, 60-year-old guy be doing training Masteron and Clan and all these things? Should they be doing all that? No, of course not. But
the few 60-year-old clients I've had, I really struggle with any type of discussion of PEDs with them. I'm like, listen, that's totally up to you. Right. That's not something I'm gonna advocate on. You know, I don't feel comfortable with that.
What do your Instagram fans have to say about it?
Well, one of them made the argument that you know, 18 is the legal age in the United States, so they could cut it off there. You know, if you're talking upper ages, then there is no legal age for anything. It's up to them to make their own decisions. But when you're talking making responsible choices, not all 60-year-olds are making the right decisions on their health.
Yeah, I don't think it would ever fly because, like you said, under 18, you could say, well, they're not even a legal adult, so no, we can't let them compete. But I don't think it's possible to ever cap it. We're not suggesting it because, yeah, I mean, but you know, it's at the end of the day, it's always a personal choice. I would hope that anybody who's that old, and I'm old, so I'm not putting down these older guys, but they know what they're doing. They know what the risks are. I would hope that they're working very closely with their personal physician. If they have a cardiologist, I have a cardiologist. I would be working with them. And if at the first sign of things looking like they were heading in a very bad direction, I would say, you know what? I wanted to win this. I wanted to be a pro. I wanted whatever, but it's not worth it. It's not worth dying for.
No.
But did you ever see a movie called Little Miss Sunshine?
Of course.
This is a horrible analogy, which most of my analogies end up being terrible. But do you remember the older, the grandfather in the movie?
Yeah.
So I think he caught his grandson smoking pot or something.
Yeah.
And he said, at your age, you're crazy to do drugs. At my age, you're crazy not to do drugs. And he ended up dying of I think he was snorting heroin. He died at some point in the movie anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But that would be the other side of the argument. Someone who's 60 said, well, you know what? I've had a good life. If I live to be 65 instead of 68, but I look a certain way, you know, it's everyone's got to weigh that for themselves. Is it worth it? What's important to you? What are your priorities? Is it worth living like a lion for a shorter time than a lamb for a longer time? You know, there's all these ways to look at it. But that's a very interesting subject of debate right there. Should there be an upper age limit?
It is. I don't know that it's relevant, like it's ever going to be an issue, but it's just something I think about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get a lot of shit in my YouTube videos because everyone uses this word transparent now, you know, so that's the new catchphrase, transparent. if people ask me what I take, I'll tell them what I'm taking. And immediately a lot of them will be like, you idiot, you have a family and this and that. How could you ever use, because I haven't used it in a while, but I said, yeah, I've used Tren way past the age of 40. They say, you idiot, you're going to die and this and that. And I do take very good care of my health, except for the fact that I do those things, but I'm still doing my blood work, doing my scans. I'm just very fortunate. We're always knocking on wood.
Right.
I had an older sister that was a heroin addict for like 25 years. That's way longer than most people live as a heroin addict.
Right.
So usually within like 5 or 10 years, you're dead. So, my family seems to be, there's a gene in there that's very resilient to various forms of drug abuse, I guess.
Well, the story's not over. Let's just keep working on it and doing the best we can.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, let's wrap it up. Rest in peace, Cedric McMillan. He will be missed. He was one of the greats. His memory will always live on. It's unfortunate that he's gone. It's very unfortunate. And man, I'm not even going to say I hope this is the last one. It's not going to be the last one. But guys, just please take care of yourselves, please. I'm tired of talking about who just died. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. It's like an epidemic now. We are literally dropping like flies.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's awful. That text message when you get it, I just rolled out of bed and I seen it. Like, is it real? I'm like, oh, what?
It's always real. The only time it wasn't real was Vic Richards. Every other time I get a text message, did you hear about so and so? I'm like, oh, let me guess, they're dead, right? And they're always dead every time.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, Jose, thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure, Ron.
Again, follow him on Instagram, guys. The Boston Mass, 2 E's, thebostonmass.com, and the YouTube channel, The Boston Mass. And of course, if you're in Boston, want a great workout, where are you going to go? You're going to go to the Gym Hub, Boston.
The Gym Hub, baby.
Gym Hub, great facility. Jose's in there training clients a lot. Crazy equipment that they both went all over the USA to find. Yeah, I was you guys went to the Redcon gym in Boca to look at some of their stuff, right?
Yeah, we actually got a couple pieces from there.
Oh, wow.
A couple of ideas from there.
Yeah, I was there.
Some of the Panada stuff.
Yeah,
the flex leverage.
Yeah, I caught 4 workouts there while I was in Florida this past week. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's
right.
A great gym, right?
Yeah. A lot of equipment packed into a small area, let me tell you.
Yeah. When are you going to air this video?
Well, it's actually Redcon's video, but I'm gonna make sure that that MD gets access to it. We'll air it too because it's good advertising for everybody. So yeah, it was me and Kai training back. There were no crazy 600-pound deadlifts or 500-pound barbell rows. So I'm letting you guys know right now. But
this video we're making right.
Oh, this one.
Right now.
Oh, this will be Monday morning. So we're recording this on Friday the 15th. It will air Monday the 18th. Yeah. First thing. Yeah. We start the week off with Jose Raymond, of course.
Oh, okay. So we don't even have to talk about the New Englands because it'll come and gone.
It'll come and gone, but it's going to be a great show.
All right.
Cutler Classic, actually.
We'll talk about it next time.
Absolutely. All right. Guys, thank you all for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, leave some comments for the algorithm thing, whatever that is. And we'll see you next time right here on No Way Jose.
See you, buddy.